This is CBC Nova Scotia News.
Speech from the throne. The Houston government opens the legislature with a push for resource development. Tackling the teacher shortage, Mount St. Vincent University offers up a condensed Bachelor of Education. And this young hockey player makes the most of his slippery street.
Staying cold for Saturday, but certainly gusty and bright. Our next storm rolling in later Sunday with snow, ice, and more rain. Your full forecast is coming up.
Good evening. Premier Tim Houston's government opened the latest session of the Nova Scotia legislature with a speech from the throne. As Michael Gorman reports, the speech pushed for resource development to help the economy while calling out a new government target.
Lieutenant Governor Mike Savage was at Province House to read the speech from the throne, opening a new session of the legislature. The document sets out the government's course for this new mandate.
Our province faces a world filled with uncertainty.
To address that uncertainty, the PC government is pushing to make it easier to develop the province's natural resources. The throne speech made that point while taking aim at Premier Tim Houston's latest target, unnamed special interest groups.
The government will bring in and develop modern regulations that enable development while ensuring we protect the environment. If people tell you it can't be done, they are trying to scare you. But this requires all of us to come together. All of us have responsibility for the success of these industries. No amount of policy or regulation can overcome a mindset that has captured many people. A mindset pushed by special interests.
Opposition leaders say they aren't opposed to discussing resource development, but they question why the Premier is framing the conversation in an adversarial way.
I think that this is very consistent with the way this government has chosen to communicate. They really like to have an enemy. And that enemy was Justin Trudeau, and now that enemy is special interests, and special interests are whoever happens to disagree with them.
The interim Liberal leader says Houston is looking for opposition to something the public seems willing to discuss.
We engage closely with the Mi'kmaq, we engage closely with a lot of stakeholders and communities, and as a result, we've seen some successful projects come forward. So I just don't understand this rationale of constantly looking for this new enemy of the province when there's really not one.
Chender and Momberket say if the government is serious about economic development, it will take more than just natural resources. Michael Gorman, CBC News at Province House.
Amid a province-wide teacher shortage, a number of universities are offering a condensed Bachelor of Education program. Mount St. Vincent University is the latest to do so. The union representing educators says anything to add more teachers to the classrooms is good, but more needs to be done to keep them there. Josh Hoffman reports.
Students accepted to Mount St. Vincent's Bachelor of Education program will now have the chance to finish it in 14 months instead of 20 to help address a growing teacher shortage in Nova Scotia. They would start in May instead of September and continue their courses through the summer and holidays.
All the faculties of education in Nova Scotia were asked to look at a way of getting more teachers more quickly into the system. And so our response to that has been to look at our existing program, our Bachelor of Education program, and find a way of getting the students through more quickly.
Card says he's confident the accelerated program will still produce teachers that are up to standard.
It's really important to us that they are appropriately qualified and ready for the system. And so they go through the exact same courses that they would do in the longer program. It's just without the gaps for the holidays, and starting earlier makes that possible. So it's the same program, essentially.
This week's announcement from Mount St. Vincent comes after Cape Breton University began its 8-month online Bachelor of Education last month. That university had canceled its condensed program over concerns it wouldn't meet quality standards, but ultimately reversed that decision and went ahead. The president of the Nova Scotia Teachers Union isn't concerned shortened courses will affect the quality of teachers coming out of these universities, and says these programs are going to help address a dire situation.
Right now, we do have a serious teacher shortage in Nova Scotia, and this is not something that's unique to our province. It's right across the country. Currently, we have unfilled positions. There are teacher positions right now that are not filled due to a teacher shortage.
Day says filling those vacant positions is obviously a priority, but more can be done to make sure these teachers stay in Nova Scotia.
In order to do that, we need to make sure that, the teaching profession is a desirable one that's sustainable. Right now, we have teacher workload issues. We have concerns of violence in our schools. And, these are things that the government needs to take real steps to address and look at.
According to Day, the current situation is not sustainable. Josh Hoffman, CBC News, Halifax.
A Transportation Safety Board of Canada investigation has concluded there was a fire aboard a sailboat that disappeared south of Nova Scotia last summer, leading to the deaths of 2 people, an adventurous couple from British Columbia. The Theros left Halifax on June 10th and was heading to the Azores. It was reported missing to the Joint Rescue Coordination Center in Halifax on June 18th. Its identification system stopped transmitting 5 days earlier, but no distress signal was ever received. A month later, the bodies of the 2 crew members, Brett Clibbery and Sarah Packwood, were found in a dinghy on Sable Island. The report noted that a flotation suit worn by one of them had been burned. The report also mentioned the possibility of the boat colliding with a commercial tanker. The Theros has yet to be found. A 55-year-old man has died following a collision between a car and a tractor-trailer in Antigonish County. The collision happened on Highway 104 in Linwood just before 1 p.m. on Thursday. Police say the car was traveling westbound and collided head-on with the tractor-trailer traveling eastbound. The driver and sole occupant of the car died at the scene. The driver of the tractor-trailer suffered minor injuries. All right, Ryan is here with the first look at the weather, and winter still has us in its grip.
Certainly, and it's going to be windy and bright, but cold for your Saturday forecast, feeling very wintry. Northwest winds staying gusty through tonight and into Saturday, as you can see, sustained in the 40 to 50 range. We're looking at gusts for Saturday. 60 kilometers per hour, except 70 to 80 kilometers per hour through Cape Breton. This is going to keep wind chill values into the minus double digits and teens throughout the day. Sunday also chilly, but we're watching the increasing clouds and the snow starting to roll in from southwest to northeast. And you can see as we move into the Sunday time period, this system approaching pretty quickly. We will see some snow as early as lunchtime through the Tri-County area and then spreading in. Looks like the metro area, the 101, the 102, if you're going to be traveling on Sunday, starting to get into that snow late afternoon, early evening, and that will then continue to spread in across the province Sunday evening, while at the same time, that ice pellet freezing rain mix will then start to roll in as well, and this will be a messy mix through this Sunday night time frame. By Monday morning, a brief change over to rain, and then back to snow as things freeze up. Deja vu for the long weekend. Amy.
That's right, and we saw some icy conditions firsthand. Thanks for that, Ryan.
Thank you.
Nova Scotians woke up to some pretty icy conditions Friday morning. Not happy news for a lot of folks, but for 14-year-old Aaron Rowe, well, he made the best of a slippery situation, and I'm here in Hammond's Plains with Aaron. So take me back. You woke up this morning, looked out the window. What went through your mind?
I mean, I came downstairs. I kind of seen all the ice, and I heard it was icy. And I came down, I checked, it was a pretty flat sheet of ice, so I thought if I went and got an old pair of skates on, I could maybe go skate around on it. And I came and skated, and it's a really fun morning.
Yeah, how are the conditions? A little bumpy?
Not really, honestly. I mean, I was expecting it to be bumpy, but I came down, it's pretty flat and smooth.
Yeah, how long were you out?
I mean, I came down for probably 30 minutes to an hour this morning. I went inside, and then I probably just came up for 30 minutes now.
Yeah. So I guess free ice time is free ice time no matter how you slice it, right?
Oh, yeah. And I'm not one of the people who have a rink on their yard, so this is really fun for me.
Yeah. So how long have you been skating?
I mean, I've been skating since I've been 2, and I think playing hockey since I was like 3, but I've loved it for my whole life.
Yeah. And you were telling me that when you were much smaller, you ended up doing some skating in a frozen ditch?
Oh yeah, in my old house we had a bigger ditch and it flooded one year, and it was a pretty big surface of ice, and I went and got a net and I had a nice rink in the front yard there.
Now, you are on a hockey team. Tell me about that, and are some of your teammates doing the same thing?
I mean, I'm on the U15 Tassa Ducks, just rink over there a little bit, and I'm pretty sure I've seen a few of us, or a few of my teammates, stick handling on the ice, but I'm not sure if anyone had their skates on.
What do your parents and your neighbors think about all this?
Well, my parents tell me to be careful, and I've had a few people driving by. I've had my friend drive by with his dad in the car, kind of laughing, and I've had a few people drive by saying, like, what a way to get to school, huh?
Well, enjoy your skating, and way to go making the best of a slippery situation.
Oh, yeah.
Only in Canada. Well, Halifax will get 10 new firefighters next year to keep up with a growing city. City Council approved the $98 million Halifax fire and emergency budget Friday. It's up about 5% over last year. The money includes money for new firefighters, logistics roles, and wildland fire training. The fire department says without the additional staff, there would be a drop in response times for fire and medical calls. Parks Canada is axing a free and unlimited firewood for the backcountry sites at Kejimkujik National Park and Historic Site. The national park in southwest Nova Scotia will now sell firewood to hikers and canoers who will have to transport it to the sites. An online statement from the federal agency said eliminating the provision encourages responsible wood use and reduces wildfire risk. And the money needed to provide the service can be better spent elsewhere. Cape Breton Highlands National Park and Cape Chignecto Provincial Park do not allow backcountry campfires. It may be winter, but the Halifax Port Authority is looking ahead to cruise ship season, and they say the 2025 season will be the longest one yet. The season will span more than 7 months from April 4th until November 19th. Various ships will make a total of 188 calls to the port, bringing 328,000 passengers to the city. 6 ships will make their first visit to Halifax. The Queen Mary will make 3 trips to the port. Well, Haligonians are spreading the love this Valentine's Day. From a local chocolate shop offering a special treat to roses being handed out to strangers at the Halifax Shopping Centre. Molly McNaughton reports.
Here, you take one.
One rose at a time. Haligonians are celebrating Valentine's Day. At the Halifax Shopping Centre, the youth group Love Nova Scotia are handing out a lot of them, 120 roses.
The main reaction I find that makes me feel good is when people are looking down and gloomy and you're like, oh man, here's a rose, have a better day, and they instantly perk right up and they walk away smiling, looking at it like you just made their day. It's definitely a perk of doing this.
A lot of people are going through hard times right now, especially with all the global crisis and everything. So just seeing somebody with a smile on their face on Valentine's Day is honestly just enough fulfilling for me, at least.
At Rousseau Chocolatier, heart-shaped chocolates line the shelves. And for this Valentine's Day, a special treat filled with caramel.
We're very excited this year because we launched a product called the Caramel Hearts. So they are a heart filled with our signature hazelnut praline called Feuilletine with thin layers of wafer inside and a layer of our amazing salted butter caramel.
Valentine's Day is one of the single most busiest days of the year for the shop. Another bonus for the chocolate business, a boost in sale from the push to buy Canadian.
Buying local doesn't just mean locally here in Halifax. We're also sending product all over from coast to coast in Canada. So that's increased as well. And so with the timing and being so close to Valentine's Day, I think it really did help our sales Canada-wide.
Back at the shopping centre, Love Nova Scotia say they've been gifting roses to the public on Valentine's Day for the past several years. They've even come up with a slogan, "A little bit of love goes a long way," a fitting sentiment on Valentine's Day. Molly McNaughton, CBC News, Halifax.
And check out this cute baby seal. Chris Joachim and his friend Wayne Harvey spotted the pup 2 kilometers away from the sea on a road in Pictou County. They say they were stumped as to how it got there. Several people stopped to make sure the animal didn't get hit trying to cross the road. And after calls to police, natural resources, and DFO, the seal pup was finally rescued. And it's a cold, cold night over Halifax. Ryan will be back next with the full weather forecast. We'll see you after the break. Okay, the weekend is here, and a long weekend for some folks. A little dicey on how it's going to be the whole time, right?
It's going to be an impactful weekend weather-wise. Even tomorrow, even Saturday, that will be nice. It is going to be cold and blustery, and so the weather will definitely not be gorgeous everywhere, though if you can get out of the wind tomorrow, it won't be too bad at all. Have a look at our current temperatures, and you can see we are at -3 at Bacaro. That is our hot spot, and -9 at Port Hawkesbury. That is our cold spot. As we look at the winds, yeah, boy, they have been gusty, haven't they? And sustained as well. You can see sustained right now. Westport at 70. Caribou Point at 69. Looking at sustained winds in the Sydney area near 40. And as we look at the gusts, gusting to 80 in and around the Westport Yarmouth area, as well as Caribou Point, gusting to 72 at Halifax. That wind it's got a bite for sure. Wind chill values, you can see, are into the minus teens and near 20. And let's look at the satellite and radar picture. And that onshore flow continues. And the winter storm warning continues for northern Cape Breton, northern Inverness County, rather, in Victoria County, where the snow and the blowing snow will continue there through tonight into tomorrow, and relentless onshore flurries even across into the Sydney metro area. Pretty quiet across the rest of the mainland in terms of the skies, but yeah, we had some squalls and flurries rolling through earlier today, and still a chance for a flurry this evening. Notice that low is moving out. This area of high pressure is moving in, and the pressure gradient, rather, between the low and the high, that is what really has those winds rifling in from the northwest. That will ease as we get closer to that high as it moves overhead. This is the next storm, which is already starting to roll into northeast parts of the, at least eastern parts of the plains of the U.S. So let's time things out. So there's the onshore flurries and the snow squalls for Cape Breton, northern Inverness, and Victoria County overnight Friday into Saturday morning. We'll see that continuing and then starting to taper off throughout the morning into the middle parts of the afternoon. Quiet across the rest of the mainland. Lots of sunshine on tap. So again, if you can escape the winds, it will be a pretty fine day overall on Saturday with temperatures in the -4 to -6 range. The winds sustained 30 to 40 across the mainland, will gust 50 to 60 for most. And Cape Breton will be gusting in the 70, 80 kilometer per hour range. And I think northern Inverness, north of Mabu, Cheticamp, and across actually on the other side as well into the Victoria County area will likely gust closer to 90 kilometers per hour for Saturday. So just a heads up on that. Wind chill values into the minus teens and near 20 throughout Saturday morning. And we'll be seeing some relief in terms of the wind chill into the afternoon, but still feeling into the -10 to -15 range for the mainland and sticking right near -20 in terms of its feel across Cape Breton. Now for Sunday, increasing clouds and that snow starting to spread in from southwest to northeast throughout the day. Looks like it'll arrive in through the southwest as early as lunchtime. Halifax and the metro area, the 101, the 102, if you're going to be traveling, likely arriving late afternoon, early evening. That snow will then spread up across the rest of the mainland throughout the mid-evening time frame, and then late evening into Cape Breton. And here comes this messy mix of ice pellets and freezing rain. And it does look like, now it depends on the model you look at, but it does look like we could see another prolonged period of freezing rain with this system, longer than even what we had Thursday night. So that's something I'm watching. It looks like, as of now, kind of 5 to 10 centimeters of snow before that transition over to the freezing rain and the ice pellets, and then a brief change to rain, and we're into that warm sector Monday morning, 2, 3, 4, 5 degrees, but not enough likely to do a whole lot of melting for that snow, and then we freeze back up. Temperatures fall through your day on Monday, and so things turning icy yet again with flurries rolling back in on the backside of the system. So another mess for sure. So that's not great news for Monday, obviously. And so if you've got some travel plans, be very safe this weekend. Quieter, calmer conditions, at least for a few days mid next week. Keeping an eye on Friday, though, Amy.
Yeah, we'll take the quiet when we can.
Certainly.
Thanks, Ryan.
Thank you.
Coming up, this Dartmouth art installation is dispelling myths around victim blaming and sexual violence. A traveling exhibit is underway called What Were You Wearing? And I'm here at the Iodine campus of the Nova Scotia Community College with the woman behind the exhibit, Mia Fournier-White. So this is part of a worldwide movement. Can you tell me a bit about that?
Yeah, so it was first created as a poem by Mary Simmerling and then further developed into the clothing exhibit that you see here today. And it gets adapted by many different people and countries all over the world. I've seen it in Australia, I've seen it in England, in the States, and I really wanted to bring it here.
Well, how did you get involved?
Basically, there's no formal way to get involved. It's kind of, I want to do it, so you can go ahead and do it. I just did some research on the exhibit. I heard about it after leaving an abusive relationship and was very inspired and knew I wanted to do my own.
Well, talk to me about that. This dress has a lot of meaning and impact on you. Can you tell me about it?
Yeah, so this isn't the exact dress. I threw that one away. But I was dating someone in high school, and they were my first boyfriend. And it was very abusive in a lot of ways. And when I finally got the courage to leave him, I found out about this exhibit almost right after, and knew that this would be the way that I could heal and use it to help others heal.
And you have quite a few others who have come forward. Tell me about what it's been like for them to share their stories.
Yeah, so all of the submissions are completely anonymous. So I don't know them unless they come to me and tell me that they're submitting something. But I have 32 others other than myself who have submitted their own stories, their own outfits. And from the ones who have come to me, they tell me thank you and that they hope that they can help others and help make change. And it's just incredibly brave of all of them.
Well, talk to me about the title of the exhibit, what were you wearing? That sort of implies blame on the victim, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so oftentimes when someone is sexually assaulted, it is a lot of victim shaming. What were you wearing? Were you drunk? Did you ask for it? And the whole point of this exhibit is to erase that, to show that it does not matter the fabric or who you are. It can happen to anyone, and it's not the victim's fault. For example, even if I were to walk around without any clothes on, that does not give the right to someone else to touch me. And that's basically what the exhibit is trying to tell people.
And what has the reaction been from people who've stopped by?
A lot of tears, and that they want to see it go further, that they really hope that it makes change, that people think that it's powerful, and people just really are grateful that there's an outlet for them to go and have this type of topic, because it's not something that's widely talked about.
And this is on the move after you leave here in Dartmouth.
Yeah, so it has 2 more NSCC campuses. It goes to the Institute of Technology in the North End in Halifax, and then the Pictou campus. And then it's done for the year, and hopefully after I graduate, it'll be picked up by other student associations and continue to NSCC.
All right, well, thanks so much for your time, and best of luck going forward.
Thank you.
Coming up, as the war in Ukraine nears the 3-year mark, there is a renewed push for a peace deal. And after 2 months of savings for Canadians, the federal government's GST holiday is ending with mixed reviews. Welcome back. U.S. President Donald Trump dispatched his vice president to a security conference in Munich today to push his plan to finally end Russia's war on Ukraine. But rather than talking about how to help Ukraine defeat Russia, Vance lectured European leaders over silencing voices on the right. As the CBC's Chris Brown reports, it did not go down well.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. Visiting the Munich Security Conference, J.D. Vance's hosts wanted the U.S. Vice President to underscore American determination to pressure Vladimir Putin to end his war on Ukraine. Instead, Vance lectured them.
The threat that I worry the most about vis-a-vis Europe is not Russia, it's not China, it's not any other external actor. And what I worry about is the threat from within.
A stunned room listened as Vance berated his hosts, Germany, for allegedly silencing voices on the far right ahead of a key election. Germany's defense minister was livid. He compared conditions in parts of Europe with those in authoritarian regimes, said Boris Pistorius. Ladies and gentlemen, that is unacceptable.
Das ist nicht akzeptabel.
Vance's lecture capped a week of dramatic and conflicting pronouncements from Donald Trump and his top officials on European security. Ukraine's Volodymyr Zelensky affirmed he won't let Trump and Putin talk over his head.
I will meet with Russians, with only one Russian guy, with Putin, only after we will have common plan with Trump, Europe, and we will sit with Putin and stop the war.
While not in Munich, Vladimir Putin may still have sent a message about his willingness to compromise. Overnight, Ukraine says a Russian drone smashed into one of the most dangerous places in Europe, the dome covering the sealed Chernobyl nuclear plant, causing damage but no radiation leak. Senior Trump officials have been pounding home the message that the U.S. now has higher security concerns than Europe, leaving Ukrainians to worry that Trump may want a fast peace deal and not necessarily one that's good for them. Vance's scolding won't help ease those concerns. Chris Brown, CBC News, London.
Turning now to the latest in the Middle East. Hamas says 3 Israeli hostages will be freed this weekend, easing concern that the release of captives could stop and Gaza's ceasefire could collapse. All 3 of the men were on a kibbutz during the militants' deadly attack on October of 2023. Hamas's threat to halt the release of remaining captives saw the deployment of Israeli forces near the border and regional mediators scrambling to keep the ceasefire on track. Hamas accused Israel of reneging on ceasefire commitments, chiefly those allowing accelerated aid delivery. Severe shortages remain in Gaza. Water is the most critical. Pope Francis is in hospital after being ill for a week with what was described as bronchitis. Hospital officials are reporting him to be in fair condition, and they've confirmed a respiratory tract infection. The CBC's Megan Williams reports from Rome.
This morning, the Vatican issued a statement saying the Pope would be hospitalized in Gemelli Hospital here in Rome, where he usually goes when he has health issues. It called it necessary for some diagnostic steps and to treat him for bronchitis. Then it issued another statement canceling appearances that the Pope would be making for the Roman Catholic Holy Jubilee year, that is this year, from Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. Up until recently, he's continued to hold daily appearances, sometimes inside his Santa Marta residency. On Sunday, he appeared at an outdoor mass, although he didn't have enough voice to actually read the mass. Over the past few years, he's suffered from the flu and respiratory issues. He's also put on a lot of weight recently and appeared bloated, a possible indication of medicine that he's been on for his lung infection that could have led to water retention. When he was a young man, Pope Francis had part of one lung removed. He now mostly gets around in a wheelchair or a walker. Inside his apartment, he uses a cane and has had a couple of falls in the past few months, bumping his chin and hurting his arm. His health issues, though, have not stopped him from commenting on world politics. Earlier this week, he issued a sharp criticism of U.S. President Donald Trump's immigration crackdown. He called it a major crisis, and he told American bishops that criminalizing migrants will end badly. Megan Williams, CBC News, the Vatican.
We have a dramatic video of a U.S. Navy jet that crashed into the San Diego Bay in California this week. Luckily, both pilots safely ejected before the Boeing Growler slammed into the water. Eyewitnesses say they saw the jet flying very low earlier. The two pilots were seen ejecting out before it plunged into the bay. U.S. Coast Guard says they were rescued by a fishing vessel that quickly rushed in to help. The Navy says it is investigating the cause of the crash. Conservative MPs are meeting in Ottawa for the first time since Parliament rose last December. They're returning to a much different political scene, one involving escalating threats from a new U.S. president and shifting poll numbers. As Olivia Stefanovich reports, the Tories are looking for new ways to appeal to voters.
What do you think of how the government is handling the Donald Trump tariff issue?
Conservatives didn't have much to say on their way into their caucus meeting about the U.S. president.
How would a conservative government handle things differently?
But there is someone they did want to talk about.
We've been consistently concerned about carbon tax Carney's failure to provide any transparency to Canadians.
I just want to address Mark Carney's comments where he was downplaying the opioid crisis.
The Liberals haven't even picked their new leader, and yet one contender has become the Tories' main target.
Trump wants our jobs.
We're going to take other countries' jobs.
Pouring money into ads like these, while the Liberals try to frame the Conservative leader just like Trump.
I plan to cut foreign aid more.
A foreign aid freeze, isn't that it?
There's no doubt in my mind that Conservatives and Mr. Poilievre have a Trump problem, and that is because a sizable portion of Conservative supporters, like Mr. Trump, agree with a lot of his policies.
The Conservatives still have a considerable lead in the polls, but this public opinion analyst says things are changing.
Minds have opened up post-Trudeau quitting and now Trump kind of being in people's focus. That has given the Liberals, I think, a new opportunity to persuade Canadians that they deserve another shot in office.
Thank you all so much for the incredible work you're doing. I know
The Prime Minister is spending his final weeks in office demonstrating he's pushing back against Trump's threats.
people are standing up for Canadian workers. We're standing up strong.
In a show of patriotism to honor the 60th anniversary of the Maple Leaf, a giant flag was skated down the Rideau Canal, right in front of the convention center, where the Conservatives plan to hold a rally tomorrow to promote national pride. Olivia Stefanovich, CBC News, Ottawa.
A health problem that was all but eliminated in Canada could be making a comeback, and researchers say gourmet salts at the grocery store could be part of the reason why. Jennifer Yoon reports.
Canadians have so many salt choices now. Kosher salt, Himalayan rock salt, sea salt. None of these have iodine added like regular table salt does. It's an essential but rare mineral needed for thyroid function.
And it's very critical for development.
In Canada today, almost 12% of the population could have moderate to severe iodine deficiency, say researchers. And a new study out of Quebec suggests pregnant women are not getting enough iodine in the first trimester of pregnancy. That could lead to a child being born with cretinism, a condition this Toronto pediatrician was astonished to see in a 17-year-old.
She was about this tall, had the classical face of cretinism, and was intellectually delayed, severe intellectual deficits.
Cretinism is irreversible and comes about when a baby doesn't get enough iodine in the womb. It's very rare in Canada since the government started adding iodine to table salt in the 1950s.
The manufacturing has changed and the diet, people's diet have changed. We're starting to see iodine deficiency again.
Another way iodine deficiency can manifest: goiters.
People alive today were not around in the 1920s. They don't remember what iodine deficiency looked like or, how devastating it was.
The deficiency is also associated with cognitive impairment, infertility, and stunted growth.
So this is how many days worth of iodine?
Roughly 50 days.
But a little goes a long way in fixing the problem, says this researcher.
We need more research and evidence to support practices to ensure that the population as a whole has adequate iodine in their diet.
There are other ways to make sure Canadians are getting enough iodine through mineral-rich food like seafood and dairy, and for pregnant women, prenatal vitamins. Jennifer Yoon, CBC News, Toronto.
The federal tax holiday ends this weekend. The government cut tax on items such as diapers and restaurant meals to provide relief to cash-strapped consumers and to boost business. But was it worth the effort? The CBC's Anis Haidari reports.
There are mixed reviews out there about just how much a GST cut changed anyone's shopping habits.
No, not really. It's not like, oh, now I can go for a vacation. Or, oh, now I can buy, I don't know, like a PlayStation.
Well, I guess if I did add up the numbers, it would show up. But really, in terms of behavior or buying, it had no bearing.
The biggest difference has definitely been at restaurants. I'm more encouraged to go out to restaurants.
Restaurants like this one agree.
I think it was a much-needed relief when they saw their bill. They were very excited to see that tax break reflect on their bill. It was much less than they were expecting.
Industry leaders want the cut to stay to help a sector they say is struggling.
This is actually working and stimulating the economy and providing Canadians with the relief that they needed to be able to treat themselves on a day-to-day or week-to-week basis.
But the reviews aren't as hot in other sectors. One of Canada's largest payment processors said they saw fewer card transactions in the first month of the GST cut compared to the year before, with Moneris suggesting the tax break didn't boost sales, something predicted by many economists.
You called this a nightmare several months ago. Has the dream come true?
Maine government managed to use several $1 billion in one of the worst ways I could imagine, so I suppose so.
The GST cut was projected to cost $1.6 billion.
We knew that this was going to be an expensive policy with the general idea that it would make people feel like life was more affordable. I think that at a fundamental level, that hasn't shifted.
Do you get to check?
On top of that, retailers like this one agree this tax break didn't seem to drive spending.
I think it was such a non-starter. I think we didn't feel that it was fantastic or like terrible. It just didn't really do anything.
So by Sunday, say goodbye to the tax cut that just didn't cut it for everyone. Anis Haidari, CBC News, Calgary.
The Buy Canadian response to the Trump tariff threats continues. And for people having trouble determining whether products are Canadian or not, there's help on the internet. The CBC's Vanessa Lee reports.
With the threat of tariffs looming, Canadians are doubling down on buying local.
We see this one is very Canadian.
These Montrealers have created an app to make it easier for shoppers to identify Canadian products.
We saw on social media a lot of different lists of products being shared. They were not always correct, so we thought we had to find a way to centralize all this information.
Buy Beaver is community-driven, relying on users to comment, rate, and share information.
You can scan the barcode, then it will rate the product as either Canadian or not on a scale of 1 to 5, and it will rate it based on where it's made, where the ingredients and the materials are from, and finally, who owns the brand or the company.
Similar apps have launched overnight with a common cause.
And we've got a couple of ratings there. Peanut butter made in Toronto.
The Shop Canadian app already has more than 100,000 downloads.
This was about a week ago, and we were in our kitchen, and I was trying to figure out if what I was eating was Canadian, and I had to jump through several hoops to try and figure out what I was eating. And eventually I came up with the idea.
It also leans on crowdsourcing. Half of the 100,000 products in its database have been reviewed.
But it's cool to see that we're making a difference. I mean, in our wildest dreams, we were hoping to keep a couple $100s in Canada. With the traction we've gained and the people using our app, we're able to do a little bit more.
The Buy Canadian sentiment is having an impact on bottom lines. Family-owned Chapman's Ice Cream says it has seen a bump in sales.
I would say, yeah, maybe 10%. So, yeah, very significant, and especially for January, which is typically the lowest sales month of the year.
The creators of the apps know they're not perfect and say they're working around the clock to ensure the information is accurate, a labor of love for their country. Vanessa Lee, CBC News, Montreal.
Canadians may not think of themselves as big flag wavers, but Donald Trump's threats against Canada's economy and sovereignty has sparked a big surge in national pride. As Marina von Stackelberg reports, now more people are eager to fly the Canadian flag.
This is our Canada flag wall here, and as you can see, it is a little bit on the bare side because we are running out.
From coast to coast, Canadian flags are flying off shelves.
As soon as the door opens, the phone's ringing with people asking for Canadian flags.
Flag shop staff are sewing fast to keep up with demand as customers come in looking to put a red maple leaf anywhere they can.
Wanting to let our neighbours to the south know that they've really ticked us off.
All 5 of Canada's living former prime ministers have written, "We've witnessed a surge of Canadian pride and patriotism in face of threats and insults from Donald Trump." They're calling on all Canadians to fly the red maple leaf this weekend like never before, as a sign of national unity. This Saturday marks 60 years since the Canadian flag was first raised on Parliament Hill, a unique symbol of a country asserting its independence. That sovereignty is now under threat.
Canada should be our 51st state.
The threat from Donald Trump may be fueling renewed Canadian pride. The Angus Reid Institute did an online randomized survey of 1,800 Canadians at the beginning of February. That's when Trump's tariffs were first set to take effect. 44% of respondents said they were very proud of Canada. That's a 10 percentage point jump from just 2 months ago.
The response of Canadians over these past weeks has been inspiring.
Prime Minister Justin Trudeau says he's heard Canadians cancel trips south of the border and boycott American products as stores display the red maple leaf on items made here.
I think it's about time that Canadian pride got a kick in the butt.
That big show of pride in the form of a simple maple leaf. Marina von Stackelberg, CBC News, Ottawa.
This is Nova Scotia. And this is Nova Scotia on your smart TV, because CBC News is now streaming local. Local news and weather on your connected TV or favorite device. CBC News Nova Scotia, streaming now. And we're back, and during the break you were talking about your inbox just being jam full with great pictures.
Yeah, it really filled up yesterday morning, Thursday morning, before the storm arrived. There was all kinds of sunrise pictures. This is one of them, and we'll zoom in on the Halifax area, and this one from a great spot, Purdy's Tower. Have a look at this.
Oh, wow. That's a wide shot, isn't that nice?
Yeah.
With a boat going through, and what kind of, is that a mackerel sky, or what do you call that?
Yeah, absolutely, and we've got...
I remembered science class a while ago.
And Gavin Giles or Giles perhaps, with this beautiful picture. Thanks, Gavin. Really appreciate you sharing this. Ryan's Picks at cbc.ca. So much beautiful color in that picture, and we'll see another nice sunrise for Saturday morning. Again, inside looking out will be most pleasant. If you're out tomorrow, I shouldn't say it won't be a great day, because it will with the sunshine. Temperature's not too bad for this time of year, but the wind is going to be, so biting. You want to try and get out of the wind if you can.
Bundle up.
Or bundle up if you're going to be exposed to it, as we will see those wind chill values. You can see Saturday morning, minus 15 to minus 20, even 25. And that we'll see some relief into the afternoon, but pretty biting wind from start to finish. Now Sunday, we'll see the increase in clouds, the snow spreading in from southwest to northeast as we move throughout the day, or throughout the afternoon, I should say. You can see that snow on the leading edge of this system right now. Pretty good consensus that we'll see about 5 to 10 centimeters of accumulation, then ice pellets, then freezing rain, then rain, a brief warm up, and then back to flurries on Monday afternoon as those temperatures do look set to drop. So be mindful that this next system looking very similar to the previous system.
All right. Well, it is Valentine's Day, a day to celebrate love. And it's a special event for New Brunswick seniors Brenda Trafford and David Steele. They fell in love later in life after a fateful phone call.
Brenda and I got together, and everything's worked out really nicely. We enjoy each other's company. We enjoy traveling together. And I love her because I can go to Fredericton and we don't have to stop for a pee like she does.
Well, the pair met 5 years ago when David began volunteering for Nursing Homes Without Walls, a program that matches volunteers to seniors who need support. And David, who had recently lost his wife, matched with Brenda for weekly phone calls. Both said they liked the sound of each other's voices.
One thing led to another. They met in person and the couple eventually fell in love. Brenda, who is also a widow, says she feels, quote, lucky to have found David at a point in her life when she thought she would never find love again.
Oh my goodness, that is so sweet.
Yeah, it is.
That is it for us tonight. Thanks so much for watching, and we will see you next time.
Happy Valentine's Day.